Your home for the 2018 Olympic Winter Games is Wood TV8. From Wood TV, this is 24-hour News 8, tracking the February flood.
Now at 5 o'clock, the water is still rising near historic crests expected on several rivers. Drone 8 showing us homes surrounded by water.
I'm just devastated. I have no idea how I'm going to pay for this.
In Kalamazoo, residents fleeing floodwaters in search of higher ground.
Like right now, though, hauling groceries there and a hot pizza and stuff like that. It's kind of fun for a day or two. Then it gets real old.
All of that water flowing down the Grand, headed for our area's largest city. People are using canoes to get food to their homes. If there is a river rising in West Michigan, we have a crew there. Joe LaFergie and Evan Dean are monitoring the Grand. Lindsay McComel is on the Thornapple, and Brady Gillum is on the Kalamazoo. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Susan Shaw. Brian Sterling is live downtown right now, anchoring our coverage of this February flood. Brian.
Sue, we are outside of the Ford Museum tonight, live in front of the Grand River, a very swollen river. And we haven't seen the worst of it yet here. The river will continue to rise for about another 24 hours. I just want to give you a set of the scene here. I was curious when I came down, and Ellen Bach is going to join us here in just a moment. But when I came down here, I wanted to see what it compared with back in 2013. And I can tell you, Sue, it's just as bad as we saw. And they're saying it could be just as bad, if not worse, although maybe not hitting that record level that we did in 2013. But the water here at the Anabawan Park is up right at the berm. But here's the good news tonight, at least for the city of Grand Rapids, downtown, it's holding. The situation we saw last time around, they had the pumps going, they were trying to drain the water out of basements. There was a lot of property damage. We have not seen that situation yet, although there is a no contact advisory for this river throughout Kent County. And the city doesn't want you down here as far as a recreational purpose or anything like that. Now, they're planning on holding a press conference here in about 15 minutes over at the Gillette Bridge. City officials are, and we'll get an update on if their flood plan protection in their precautions that they took in 2013 actually worked. Ellen Baca joining us now with Storm Team 8. Ellen, we haven't seen the worst of it yet, 24 hours to go until it crests. What can we expect?
We're still expecting that water to climb out a decent amount for a lot of spots. So for some, we've seen that crest, but for many, the worst is still yet to come. So I want to go spot by spot now. We'll walk you through the different rivers and the different locations. We'll start with one of the areas that we think is going to be hardest hit, and that's, of course, Comstock Park. People here are used to this, but it definitely could rival the flood of 2013. The record, 17.8 feet. And we are expecting it to crest Saturday into Sunday at 17.6 feet. And there is a chance it could surpass that mark, so that's not a done deal. Want to move quickly now to Kalamazoo. This is going to be cresting tonight through Saturday. Already some issues there, and this is going to be a historic flood, peaking at 17.7 inches. The old record, 10.9. So we are expecting new impacts, ones that haven't even been seen before. Thornapple, good news here. It's peaking now. It's going to start dropping, technically peaking below that record of 10.2. Going to Ionia, this is peaked. We know that some of you in Ionia have had issues. We are going to start to drain the river now. And then Robinson, lastly, last on the line. It's looking like we're going to peak there Sunday morning into Monday. Luckily, it's looking like that's going to be staying below that record flood level as well. So in general, there are going to be several spots, again, that need to be very ready and starting to move some of those things, those pieces of furniture up into the higher levels of your house, especially if you're used to flooding. I want to send it now to the tracking center to talk about more rain on the way.
Okay, Ellen, thank you. I'm here with Chief Meteorologist Bill Steffen. The big question I think that everyone's asking is more rain on the way.
Yes, there is more rain on the way, but fortunately this will be much lighter than what we've already seen, and many areas will have already seen their crests pass by the time this gets here. You can see the rain down toward Oklahoma. It is moving in our direction. This will be a little bit more substantial than the rain that we had here early this morning. We're looking, first of all, for dry weather for tonight and tomorrow, rain for tomorrow night, and we're looking at about 1/3 of an inch of rain here. That'll be right about the time the crest will be moving through Ottawa County on the Grand River, and the crest will be approaching Lake Michigan on the Kalamazoo River and the St. Joseph River. So we're not expecting too many problems, additional problems with this that will slow the fall of the rivers here a little bit. There will be more rain coming about Thursday of next week. That will be a little bit more substantial, but by then river levels will have already fallen quite a bit. Sure. So we'll continue to track that, and we'll have more for you on that a little bit later on in the show.
Okay, we've got the team working on it. Bill, thank you very much. There are several shelters set up around West Michigan to help anyone who had to evacuate their home because of the flooding. The Red Cross has shelters in Hastings at the Commission on Aging building. A shelter in Comstock Park is at Alpine Emmanuel Baptist Church. In Kalamazoo, there is a shelter at 100 West Patterson. Brian?
And Sue, of course, this is a story that impacts tens of thousands of West Michigan residents tonight who live along some of these main tributaries, the Grand River, the Kalamazoo, the Thornapple. We have the team spread out for you, covering this for you tonight. Brady Gillum is live near Kalamazoo. He's watching the situation there. Evan Dean and Joe LaFurgey, they're along the Grand River tonight, upstream. They're covering everything from Grand Rapids to Ionia. But we want to start near Hastings. And 24-Hour News 8's Lindsay McComo, who is on the Thornapple, where one of those earthen berms gave way early this morning. Lindsay, what's the latest in that community?
Well, Brian, that is correct. Earlier this morning, that happened in Irving Township, and we did check on some of the residents who live downstream from that. Thankfully, no one's seeing too much damage or flooding into their homes because they are situated up a little bit. So we moved southeast of where that failure was to Thornapple Lake. And I want to direct your attention behind me here. We're situated on a spot above the water, but we've seen some docks as well as other patio furniture underwater here on Thornapple Lake, and we did send Drone 8 up to get a bird's eye view. Drone 8 captured a motorboat out on the lake a few hours ago, towing portions of a dock that broke loose as the water continued to rise yesterday. This aerial footage really gives you a better perspective of just how many homes are along the shore here and some currently sitting in water, as those who came to check on their properties or live here year-round are trying to clean up debris and prepare for the possibility that these waters will go even higher this weekend. Drone 8 also flew over the west and north side of the lake, where Charlton Park is. We spotted a couple gazebos and a pavilion in the middle of the water, as well as several homes on the north side of Thornapple Lake that are also experiencing flooding. Now back here on the south side of the lake, again, a lot of people along here experiencing at least some flooding. Nothing too dramatic yet with the actual basements or first floor of these properties, something we're keeping an eye on, though. Also a popular campground, Thornapple Camp, is completely underwater. Coming up at 5:30, we'll have a look at that campground as well as some of the other areas we've been keeping an eye on around Berry County. Brian.
All right, Lindsay McComo live there in Berry County tonight. Longtime sheriff in Berry County, Dar Leaf, saying this is the worst flooding he's ever seen. Now we want to go to the Grand River upstream here. We're going to start in Lowell, where the Grand is expected to crest in a couple of hours from now. 24-Hour News 8's Joe LaFurgey is there. Joe?
Yeah, Brian, I want to give you an idea just how fast and how far the river spread. Take a look. You can see the floodwaters here. The river is several blocks to the south of where we're at, right on Main Street in downtown Lowell. That's Main Street. Those are some of the businesses that line Main Street. Now, you can't see the water on the surface here, but it's so forceful, it's actually made its way into some of the basement of some of those businesses.
At Menards Ace Hardware in Lowell, they've been all but cleaned out of sandbags. And the sump pump shelf?
They're normally here. No, they're not.
It's all a result of the battle between Lowell residents and Mother Nature, a battle expected to come to a head sometime after 7 tonight. That's when the Grand River will likely crest at just over 18 feet. Lowell officials have been monitoring the situation to the east. In Ionia County, things are starting to improve. Most of the road barricades are coming down. The exception is M21 over the Maple River. MDOT's keeping that closed as a precaution until the water stops touching the beams under the deck. Lowell officials say what's happening in Ionia County could be a good sign for Lowell residents.
Myself and the police chief, we have been assessing the flooding in Ionia and Saranac, and we don't anticipate the need to evacuate the affected areas in the city.
Now, the floodwater is also inundating the wastewater treatment plant over by the fairgrounds. That resulted in the release of some diluted raw sewage into the Grand River. Of course, that no contact order in effect. We'll have more on that tonight at 6, as well as we'll continue to watch the river rise and giving you an update. Tonight we're live in Lowell. Joe LaFurgey, 24 Hour News 8.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Joe. Yeah, we'll keep watching that community as well. Hard to watch those folks scrambling to save their basements and their homes. Let's go now to the northern bend here just outside of the city in Plainfield Township. Evan Dean live along the Grand there. Evan, same sort of problems.
Brian, good afternoon. We're on Karcher Drive. That's just north of the Grand River. You can actually see the river behind us. And as you can see, this street has turned into a waterway. We're about knee deep where I'm standing now, but even further back, it gets deeper and deeper. You can even see the cross street, Conkle Drive, that's totally underwater. Now, being tucked so close to the Grand River, homeowners here, they're used to flooding of at least some degree. But I spoke with one man who's lived back here for 68 years. He says this is the second worst flooding he's ever seen. For homeowners here who've decided to tough out the February flood, there's only one way in and one way out. This neighborhood now giving a whole new meaning to riverfront property.
On the river, yes. In the river right now.
Further east and along the Thornapple River in Ada, home plate to deep center is all underwater at Leonard Field, the rising river nearly touching the bottom of the nearby bridge. And upstream at the Cascade Dam,
the water is higher than I think I've ever seen it in 26 years.
Fast-moving floodwaters have created a powerful spectacle, drawing onlookers and their cell phone cameras.
Pretty dramatic, I guess.
Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we're actually going to be talking one-on-one with the man who lives in that yellow house. He's there right now. We actually watched as he carried a pizza and some groceries by canoe home for dinner tonight. And another homeowner nearby has actually allowed us to use their canoe, their boat. So we're going to try to get on that and take a look around this neighborhood to see just how bad this flooding is. For now, Brian, back to you.
Yeah, Evan, it's great to get those anecdotes from long-timers who say that they haven't seen it just as bad as it is. We'll continue to follow their saga as well over the next few days and into the weekend. Here in Grand Rapids, we do want to let you know that there are some road closures that are into effect. They'll go into effect at least at 7 o'clock tonight. They are Market Avenue will be closed between Godfrey and the Ford Freeway. That includes the ramps to get on to Interstate 196. Keep that in mind as you start to navigate around here. Not to be outdone today, Kalamazoo, the downtown area there, struggling with flooding as well. Let's check in now with 24 Hour News 8's Brady Gillum. He's been following those developments. Brady, how bad is it down there?
Well, Brian, I'm actually in Kalamazoo Township here in the Lakewood neighborhood. But you see here a barricade. There's a lot of these in this neighborhood. And I want you to walk with me here for a second. I want to show you something. You see the water line right here. This water line, we were here about noon today, and it was extended all the way back maybe 30 more yards than it is now. That's how much the water has risen just in the last several hours. Now, yesterday, city officials said this flood is going to beat the 2008 and 1947 floods, and today we talked to a lot of people who say this is the worst they've ever seen.
Can you get them up toward Lake Street?
Never like this.
Shirley Leversey has lived in this Comstock Township home for 60 years. She's watched the Kalamazoo River threaten her property throughout the years.
This is the worst it's ever been in all that time.
Shirley says she's not leaving even as her kids and grandchildren work to keep the floodwaters out of her house. Others aren't so lucky. Firefighters had to use a boat to rescue Cheryl Spalding from her house. We caught Cheryl not long after her rescue.
The water came in, turned all my power off, and it's time to go.
I'm trying to figure out how to get food in a motel right now.
Jeannie Kendall is now staying at the local Motel 6, but she's not sure how long she can afford to be there. She says the Red Cross is not an option because they won't let her stay in the shelter with her dogs.
And the dogs are the only things that are keeping me sane right now. Yeah. I can't have them not around me. Right. I can't.
Now, the city has set up a website with all the information that you need, all the recent alerts about free sandbags and other information. There's a link to that on our website. But for now, reporting live in Kalamazoo Township, Brady Gillum, 24 Hour News 8.
All right, Brady, we wish everyone luck down there as they deal with this flooding. We do want to let you know that within the past few minutes, Ottawa County has declared a state of emergency. Of course, the water is headed their way within the next few days. Coming up tonight at 5:30, we're going to take you high above the flooding. Drone 8 is out above the Grand. Kyle Underwood flying that right now. And at 5:45, we're going to be checking in with emergency officials in Lowell. You saw what they're dealing with in our earlier report with Joe LaFurgey. We're going to check in live with those folks to see how hard they've been hit by all of this flooding. So, Sue, it's a real misty night here downtown. It's very soggy. Very swollen river behind us. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Right now, Grand Rapids officials are giving an update on the flooding. Let's go there live right now.
We have dealt with at Riverside Park and also in the Elmdale area. Those have been fairly minor in nature to the extent that they affected about 8 homes. We have also been trap bagging, so that's a big form of sandbagging at the G-Lock building on Market Street because we had a compromised or the potential compromise of an east side trunk sewer line. Right now we are working our flood control plan. The city has spent just under $15 million in the last 5 years on flood control measures, which are proving to be very, very effective. And at this time, we are working a very detailed plan that has triggers that are established at river height levels. Those triggers are being enacted right now up to the 22-foot level, and we've expanded slightly into the 24-foot level just to be precautionary. The utilization of trap bags for whatever sandbagging that we would have to do precludes the sandbagging that we did back in 2013 with the assistance of neighborhood residents and volunteers. This is a much more efficient method for us to use, and we've only had to use it in a very minor way to this point. We have been working very closely with all city departments, meeting regularly, and working on effecting our plan. We have been utilizing our drone to work up and down the river over the last several days, and that has been flying daily and giving us good situational awareness. We have also contacted all the parties in downtown here from Pearl to Fulton on the east side and from Fulton to Wealthy on the west side. None of those buildings are experiencing any flooding at this time, and so we are glad to be able to report that. Currently, the city manager has enacted a lawful closing of the Grand River to any recreational boating traffic or anybody on the Grand River. We have done that in the interest of safety, not only to keep our residents safe, but also to keep our first responders safe. These are extremely, extremely hazardous conditions that are happening right now in the Grand River. We have a lot of debris in the river right now, and we want to make sure that we do not put anybody in harm's way that does not necessarily have to be there. We warn residents of the city that as they come down to the river to very much keep their distance, because we know that just getting close to the river, anybody that gets swept in is gonna be in a very, very bad way. So we also have some closings to report before I take any questions. And we have closed the following parks due to flooding conditions. Anabawan Park has been closed, Canal Park, Fish Ladder, Riverside, and the 6th Street Bridge Park. The following roads will be closed at 7 p.m. 6th Street Bridge will be closed between Monroe and Front Street. Market, and that will occur at 7 p.m. Market Avenue, southwest between Godfrey and 196. 196 on and off ramps at Market Avenue will also be closed. In addition, the Riverside Trails and the Downtown Riverwalk along the Grand River are also closed until further notice. Failure to comply with these closures can result in a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of up to 90 days in jail or a $500 fine. We do not want to come off as being heavy-handed, but at the same time we want to make sure that the safety of our citizens is taken into account. And I will take questions at this time.
Chief, what has changed about our infrastructure since 2013 that will prevent some of the problems that we had then?
Sure. We have identified several penetrations through the flood walls that we have addressed with control measures, flap gates and the like. We have added height to the flood control walls. We have done stepped methods that you can see up and down the river where we've eliminated some walls but gone ahead and stepped the banks back. And we have also instituted this flood control plan that I've spoken about, which addresses many of the issues that we saw in 2013 and allows us to correct those measures before by closing valves or doing things preemptively before we get to a situation that would allow for flooding.
So while the flood might be around the same height, the lessons learned in 2013 will help minimize the damage.
Most definitely, and we have definitely not seen anywhere near the kind of activity that we saw in 2013. We're being cautiously optimistic right now. We're prepared, but we're trying to enact our plan ahead of what's happening on the river. It's been very predictable so far, so we hope that it maintains that predictability. I'm very confident that the level that we see cresting at 21.3 feet is down 2 inches from previous crest estimates, and so I like to see the fact that we're starting to maybe whittle down a little bit instead of those continual up steps that we saw in the past.
People are often impressed to see the levels of water we're seeing. Undoubtedly, someone will want to try and go out there. What is your message to somebody who might try to break this rule?
If you want to go out and break that rule, we will help prevent you from not using your brain. Okay, so we will take all measures possible. You will be arrested if you go in the river. We just do not want to risk those people that are going to put our people in jeopardy. So definitely we are very serious about that, and we've already had a couple instances today of people that were out there, and luckily we were able to get them out of there before they got hurt. Anybody else?
Chief, will there be a train on the tracks over here on Market? Do you know if they're stationing one there?
We've been in close contact with the CSX railroad, and they will not be putting any train cars on the tracks. That's been a very informed decision on their part. We will be sandbagging to close the flood wall at the CSX tracks later on this afternoon. But we've been in close coordination with them, as well as DTE Energy, because we're aware that we've got some power lines that run underneath the Fulton Bridge. So you can see that they're over there now, and they're doing some debris removal from the water right now.
Chief, is there any concern about the water plant along Market this time?
Right now, the water plant appears to be in very good shape. We know that that there also were measures put in place to help to control flooding around that, and so that's in good shape right now. And we do not see that being a problem unless the water levels go significantly higher than what we expect them to. All right. Thank you very much. If there's any need to do a further update tomorrow due to any change in conditions, do that. But otherwise, thank you for your time.
Okay, there you have it. That was a live news conference in downtown Grand Rapids addressing all of the flooding issues throughout the area. Grand Rapids officials are saying that the river is closed to recreational use. You will be arrested if you try to use it. A couple of people have done that earlier today. They were able to get them off the river. Again, anyone who tries to use the river, they will arrest you. CSX will not be using the railways because of the swollen river, so there's some precautions being taken there. Several parks have been closed, several roads are closed. We do have all that information for you at woodtv.com, and we are in constant contact with authorities to make sure that this flooding situation is under control. Again, something coming out of this news conference that's important is from 2013, they have fixed a lot of those problems that they had then. They don't anticipate that there will be any issues with what we saw in 2013. So we will again continue to track this. We'll have the very latest for you. Make sure and stay with us. We'll be right back. We have breaking news just in. Southbound US 131 is shut down at the Martin exit for a crash. That's in Allegan County between Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. We're working to learn more about the crash and when lanes could be reopened. We'll pass that information along to you as soon as we learn it. A lot of you have been sending us photos of the flood damage in your communities. This is from Mary's Road and Driveway in Sheridan in Montcalm County. Matt sent us these pictures from Bridge Park near I-94 in Battle Creek. We have a full gallery of your photos right now. So many people being affected by the widespread flooding throughout West Michigan. All those pictures are at woodtv.com. If you do have any photos that you would like us to see, send them in via Report It or post them to our Facebook page. So let's head over to Bill Steffen right now. Bill, what does the weekend look like? Any more rain for us?
Yeah, it looks like we have more rain, about 1/3 of an inch coming our way Saturday night. By that time, the crest on the river will be heading into Ottawa County, so it shouldn't cause too much in the way of additional problems, but may slow the fall of the rivers here just a bit. Live picture from our Plaza Tower sky cam. Traffic moving very slowly on 131 in both directions. We've had a little bit of mist and drizzle about the area here. That will end this evening. I think skies will become partly cloudy and will be dry tonight and tomorrow. Here's the rain that's coming. You can see it down there towards southeast Kansas and in eastern Oklahoma. It's almost 24 hours away, so we expect most all of the day tomorrow to be dry. It will start in the southwest corner of the state, Berrien County, and work its way through the entire area. Everyone will see rain. Most areas will see around 1/3 of an inch of rain. The system will be moving along. A few spots could be close to 1/2 inch, and it's not impossible. There could actually be a rumble of thunder, especially down toward Battle Creek and south. So here's the clouds clearing off for a while tonight. We get slightly below freezing, so watch out for a puddle or two to freeze up here. And then during the day tomorrow, clouds start to come back into the picture here, and here comes the rain. Initially, really not much there, but then this rain kind of crosses the area here tomorrow night. Again, about 1/3 of an inch of rain. We're at 4 a.m. here on Sunday, so much of Saturday night it will be raining, and you can see it is green, which means we'll have rain here and not snow or ice. On Sunday, the clouds break up a little bit here. It will be quite windy on Sunday with some gusts perhaps approaching 40 miles an hour. Current temperatures all well above freezing. We're at 40 Grand Rapids, 41 Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, 36 up in Big Rapids. This is what we expect for tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We're down to 31 in Grand Rapids, just slightly below the freezing mark. So indeed, watch out for the fact there may be a little bit of ice out there. Off to the north, temperatures dip into the upper 20s overnight tonight. So once again, dry weather for tonight and most all of the day tomorrow. We'll get about 1/3 of an inch of rain here for Saturday night. Dry weather on Sunday. Skies will eventually clear, and it will be a rather windy day here on Sunday. Dry weather will follow, by the way, for Monday and Tuesday. I think we can make mid-40s here tomorrow. Winds out of the east probably won't feel quite that warm with a rather damp east wind blowing. And again, that rain moving in here for Saturday night. So once again, there's your forecast. No sign of any really cold air here. About 1/3 of an inch of rain falls for Saturday night, and after that we got dry weather and moving into the picture here for Sunday afternoon, for Monday and for Tuesday, and look at those temperatures back into the low 50s here for the middle of next week.
Bill, thank you. Coming up, a woman testifies against the man accused of raping her back in 2014, the same man being investigated for the death of a young Kentwood girl. Ken Kolker is asking officials why these charges didn't come sooner. We'll have the latest from the courtroom coming up.
And I'm Brian Sterling, live from Anabawan Park here tonight in the heart of downtown Grand Rapids, where city officials here and across West Michigan are watching and waiting as the water continues to rise. Coming up, we're going to take you high above the flooding with pictures from Drone 8. How these images are helping forecasters make the call over the weekend.
From Wood TV, this is 24-hour News 8, tracking the February flood.
And good evening again, everyone. I'm Brian Sterling, live along the banks of the Grand River here in the heart of downtown Grand Rapids outside of the Ford Presidential Museum. Want to get you up to speed on the latest from city officials here in Grand Rapids tonight. They held a press conference last half hour. Their message is stay away this weekend. The river is closed. They don't want you out here recreationally. They would prefer that you stayed away so that the river was allowed to at least crest and start to go down. And in fact, the health department's issued a no contact advisory. That is for Kent County and the Grand River as it runs through the county. it's not just the Grand that's causing chaos around West Michigan tonight. Take a look at this scene on the Thornapple near Hastings. Lindsay McComel is there. She'll have an update for us coming up in just minutes. The best way to get a vantage point is the bird's eye view and Drone 8. These are the images tonight above the Grand River in Comstock Park. Storm teammates Kyle Underwood is flying Drone 8 tonight near Fifth Third Ballpark. Kyle, how does it look like from up there?
Hey, Brian, I'm showing you where we are. We're on the Fifth Third Ballpark parking lot. My photographer who's running the camera right now is going to swing the camera around. I know this is going to be a little bit jarring, but bear with me. And then we're going to point up the river. So we're going north along the Grand River here in Comstock Park to the right. And then you're going to see the homes on a Brigadoor Trail. So I'm flying Drone 8. We're about 250 feet above ground level. The camera is going to pan up toward the homes, and on the left side of the river, you're going to see some of these homes now that are inundated by water. And this is just one of those kind of perspectives. I mean, you think about some of these homes, their roads are shut down, and homeowners are having a really hard time getting access and getting in and out of these neighborhoods. And this is really the best way to see what some of these properties look like. And as you can see, this is this is rivaling what we saw in 2013, and of course we probably have another 12 to 18 hours of river rise up here as the Grand River and Comstock Park here, Brigadoor Trail here, not expected to crest until very late tonight or early tomorrow morning. So we're going to keep surveying this, and we'll have more live pictures throughout the broadcast. But for now, this is Storm Teammate meteorologist Kyle Underwood with Drone 8 live in Comstock Park.
All right, Kyle, and that was the park. They were going to have the beer fest this weekend. That was canceled. To the south now, the Grand of the Grand River, and it's the Thornapple River tonight and Thornapple Lake. They continue to cause concern after an early morning incident. Who saw this on your phone when the alerts popped up from Wood TV? A spillway dam failed along the river. No injuries were reported. That's the good news. The river dam itself, officials say, has not been affected by that. But we do want to go live to Hastings tonight, and 24-hour News 8's Lindsay McComel, who is standing by watching things develop there near Thornapple Lake. Lindsay?
Yeah, Brian, that's right. We've now moved a little further east from our 5 o'clock hit. We're now at Camp Thornapple, which is completely underwater, as you see behind me. It is closed. It's also caught the attention, we just noticed, of a couple of swans that have decided to take advantage of the rising water here. And again, this camp, though, Camp Thornapple, is closed right now. Let's take a look at some of the other areas that we were surveying today around Berry County. The bridge in downtown Middleville. Now, thankfully, that was actually redone in 2016, but you see there the rushing water. The village manager says that they're monitoring it, but despite those waters and the rising levels that we witnessed earlier, they are not too concerned about shutting that bridge down as of now because it is new infrastructure, so they're pretty confident with that. The Irving Road Bridge does remain closed as a result of the dam failure earlier this morning in Irving Township, as is the McCann Road Bridge, which is right by that dam. And earlier today, they actually brought in an excavator to come and relieve some of the pressure on the 3 culverts that sit under the McCann Road Bridge there. Speaking to one resident who had some water come up and actually leave some minnows behind because of how high the water level rose. Again, here back at Camp Thornapple. Again, we're kind of making sure that everyone's safe, especially in this area. A lot of the damage in homes is right around the lake itself. We didn't see too much damage from homes that were downstream from that dam failure earlier today, but we are going to check out the north side of the lake at 6 o'clock to see how the residents are holding up there. Brian?
All right, Lindsay McComel has us covered tonight in Hastings. Lindsay, thank you for that live update. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to talk live with officials in the city of Lowell. A lot of residents there have been forced to leave their homes as the water continues to rise. We'll check in with officials there to see how bad it is anticipated to get. For now, though, Sue, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, we've got it covered from several angles. Brian, thank you. Other news today that we're following for you. Police in Kent County have spent a lot of time over the past week investigating false threats of terrorism. The prosecutor and police called the media this afternoon to help spread their important message of how serious these threats are. Emily Linnert is here now with what they said. Emily?
Well, Sue, Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker called it unprecedented. He said the number of threats they've received in Kent County since the Parkland, Florida school shooting is unlike anything he's ever seen. In a week's time, the prosecutor's office has charged 3 people with making false reports of terrorism, and they're still investigating more. The prosecutor was joined by members of the Grand Rapids Police Department and Kent County Sheriff's Department to remind the public even making threatening statements are crimes. Authorities have been busy this week investigating threats at Kent Education Center, Caledonia High School, Catholic Central, Christian High, Aberdeen School, all this week. Schools are not the only place this is happening. Businesses too, Raybrook Manor and Clean Planet Recycling. As we've been telling you all week, this is happening across West Michigan, where classes have been canceled and students have been arrested due to these threats.
The biggest thing we want to convey out of all this is that under Michigan law, just a simple statement, making a statement like this is a crime, and it's a very serious crime. It's a 20-year felony.
During the investigation of these threats, things can get very serious very quickly. From questioning to search warrants, police say they will fully investigate each threat. Sue?
Emily, thank you. Coming up next, a new report shows Michigan State basketball broke NCAA rules, how one of the program's top players is involved, and the response from head coach Tom Izzo. Michigan State's basketball program is in the national headlines again for an off-the-court issue. Joe Alicio joining us right now with more on this. Joe?
Sue, Yahoo Sports released a report naming Michigan State as one of more than 20 major programs that may have broken NCAA rules through various recruiting violations. Here's how the Spartans are involved. Miles Bridges' mother is linked to an associate of a former NBA agent, and that agent reportedly gave college prospects cash advances and paid for entertainment and travel expenses for college prospects and their families. According to an expense report, the associate paid for lunch for Bridges' parents, and that cost was just over $70. There's also an ATM withdrawal for a cash advance to be paid to Bridges' mother. That was about $400. Tom Izzo responded to the Yahoo Sports report today by releasing this statement. He says the school will cooperate with any investigation, but has no reason to believe that any member of the staff or any student athlete were in violation of NCAA rules. Some of the other schools mentioned in this detailed report include Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas. Again, it's all linked to a former NBA agent. Andy Miller is his name. NCAA President Mark Emmert released a statement today in response to all of this. And for this, he says, if these allegations are true, then there's systematic failure in college sports that must be fixed. He also added that he and the NCAA board are committed to transformational changes to the game. It's still unclear if Bridges could face any postseason suspension of any kind. Michigan State finishes the regular season Sunday in Wisconsin.
Joe, thank you. Coming up, an accused murderer in court today for a different case. What an assault victim from 2014 said today on the stand, and why prosecutors chose to wait years to bring new charges.
And back here live along the Grand River right after the break, we're going to talk live with emergency management officials in Lowell. City officials there and residents scrambling tonight as the floodwaters continue to rise. What they're preparing for coming up.
I've got our GVSU Skycam downtown pointed at the Grand River from the S-curve south. Traffic moving along a little bit better southbound now on 131, still clogged up there northbound. You can see how high the river is if you look at the CFX Railroad Bridge in the distance there. If you remember the flood of 2013, they parked a train on that bridge during the peak of the flood. They are not doing that this time. Now coming up, I'll tell you about the rain that's coming our way Saturday night.
And welcome back to your 24-hour News 8 at 5. Tonight, we want to check in with the West Michigan community off to our west or east here, also impacted by the flooding tonight, and that's the city of Lowell. Joining us over the telephone tonight is Lowell City Manager Michael Burns. Michael, thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it. What are you telling residents in that community to do right now?
Good evening. At this time, basically what we're telling them is, first thing is we want them to stay out of the water if they can. We're not forcing evacuations at this time. People have been doing it voluntarily. Basically at this point we're we're just telling people to stay out of the water.
Right. You don't want anyone to get in over their head, literally, and you don't want to have putting rescue officials at risk trying to save anybody, and that's what city officials here in Grand Rapids are saying as well. Talk about, too, Michael, how the city of Lowell is helping residents tonight.
Sure. We've been trying to, at this point in time, obviously we're working on a lot of our the water issues. We're doing a lot of pumping out to the river, things of that nature. We are providing sand over at the behind Lowell City Hall if needed. At this point in time, we don't believe sheltering is needed or any of that. But if that does happen, we can activate that if it's needed, and that's pretty. Our staff's on call if needed. We're working through the night.
And Michael, I'm curious, how does this flooding compare to what you may have seen in the past in Lowell?
Sure. In 2013, flood levels reached 19.2 feet, and that was the highest in the city history. As of 3 p.m. this afternoon, flood levels were 17.89 feet, and we anticipate 18.2 when it crests here in about an hour. We haven't gotten an updated read since 3 o'clock, but it's worse than the 2004 flood, but not as bad as the 2013 flood, and I believe it's fourth in the history of the city of Lowell as highest elevation flood.
Well, we wish you luck as the river starts to crest there in Lowell. Michael Burns, who is with the city of Lowell tonight, we appreciate your time joining us live over the phone tonight. Sue.
Brian, thank you. Storm Track Live, it's clear tonight. We will be having a dry evening, but some rain is headed our way. Chief Meteorologist Bill Steffen has a look ahead now. Bill.
Yeah, it's a live look from East Grand Rapids. There's still ice out on the lake, and boy, stay off that ice. It's very thin out there with the warm weather and the rain that we have had, but like I said, a lot of lakes still have some of that ice out there. Here's the rain that's coming. It's down in southeast Kansas right now and in Oklahoma, and as that spreads up in our direction here, we're expecting about a third to maybe at the most a half an inch of rain. Can't totally rule out a rumble of thunder with that. Most all of this is going to be Saturday night, so most of Saturday during the day will be dry. Most of Sunday during the day will turn out to be dry. Here's how our Futurecast sees things. I think we go partly cloudy here for a while tonight. There's a few little pockets of mist out there, and those will end very shortly. We'll start out the day tomorrow partly sunny, and then I think during the afternoon hours clouds start to increase. And here's the rain that's coming. It's not real heavy. You can see mainly just the green color here, not a lot of yellow with this. But as this continues to work its way on through, most areas picking up about a third of an inch of rain. That won't have much of an effect on area river levels. By the time we hit Sunday morning, the crest on the Grand River will probably be entering Ottawa County. Here's a look at what we expect for Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. It'll be very windy out there. Could see some wind gusts of 40 miles an hour midday and afternoon during the day on Sunday, but it should be a dry day. These are current temperatures. We're at 40, 36 degrees off to the north, low 40s south. We are anticipating the temperatures will get down close to freezing or maybe a little bit below that, especially to the north of Grand Rapids. So watch out. There are some puddles out there. Those will likely ice up here overnight tonight. These are temperatures that we expect at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. We're at about 33 in Grand Rapids, but 29 at Big Rapids, 30 Fremont, 29 up at Ludington. There'll certainly be some icy patches up there to be aware of. Dry tonight and tomorrow. We'll see about a third of an inch of rain here for Saturday night, and then clearing skies, rather windy during the afternoon on Sunday. That's the way it looks for tomorrow. 45 degrees for Grand Rapids. May not feel that warm because we'll have a rather damp east wind at about 15 miles an hour. And it's even windier here on Sunday. Here's a look at your forecast. Look for temperatures to be in the mid-40s here tomorrow, low to mid-40s on Sunday. Both days just a touch cooler near Lake Michigan. We'll see about a 90% chance of rain here for Saturday night, again about a third of an inch. Dry weather expected for most of Sunday and for Monday and Tuesday. Some sunshine for Monday and Tuesday will help dry things up. More rain moves back into the picture by late Wednesday into Thursday. That could be a half to 3/4 of an inch, but by then river levels will have fallen quite a bit. No sign of any cold air, but I'll tell you this, we are not done with snow yet.
Okay, Bill, thank you. A mysterious death in Ionia County has turned into a hit-and-run investigation. Medical examiners say someone hit and killed Nicholas Hops on the 19th on Charlotte Highway and then took off, leaving his body in the middle of the road. Deputies are still looking for help in this case. They want any leads or information that anyone might have. If you know anything, please call the Ionia County Sheriff's Office. Grand Rapids police are investigating how a vehicle rolled over early this morning, killing the two people inside. It happened around 12:15 near Broadway Avenue and 8th Street. Officers say the driver lost control, rolled over, and struck the front porch of a house. The 39-year-old man driving and the 37-year-old woman in the passenger seat died. It's not clear if alcohol was a factor. Coming up next, 4 years later, an accused rapist and murderer is now headed to trial in the case. Coming up next, Ken Kolker is asking the question, could earlier charges have prevented a death? We'll have the latest from the courtroom next. A former Kentwood Schools custodian accused of raping a girl who was later found dead was in a Kent County courtroom today. Quinn James is now being held on a separate rape that allegedly happened in 2014. As 24-hour News 8's Ken Kolker reports, it's raising the question, why wasn't he charged back then? Ken?
Sue, today a judge ordered Quinn James to stand trial in that 2014 rape case after the alleged victim took the stand.
About Quinn James.
James' defense attorney questioned why prosecutors waited until now to file the old rape charge after finding insufficient evidence in the case back then.
They didn't believe her then. They don't believe her now. Mr. James is being held, I would argue, in some ways illegally while they want to investigate him for some other crime on some other day in some other place.
The other alleged crime, the death of 16-year-old Mujay Dambaya, an East Kentwood High School student. James was accused of repeatedly raping her last year. Mujay was set to testify against James in April, but disappeared last month. Her body found 4 days later in Kalamazoo. Detectives have not identified James as a person of interest, but his attorney says police are unfairly treating him as one. Not long after Mujay's death, Kent County prosecutors charged James with a separate rape from 4 years ago.
What did he say?
Give it to me or I'll take it.
The victim in that case said she was 18 when he raped her at his apartment, choked her, and threatened to kill her.
I was thinking if I panicked, he would have killed me, and nobody would have known where I was at.
Prosecutors today would not say why they waited until now to charge James in that old case.
There's going to be people who are going to say, why didn't this happen in 2014? He'd have been locked up, and we wouldn't have what's going on now.
Well, that's not necessarily the case.
James' attorney says he is innocent of both.
But I disagree with the premise. You're saying, oh, if they had caught him then this other thing wouldn't have happened. Right. But I'm saying this didn't happen.
Now, the judge found enough evidence to order James to stand trial in the 2014 case. Prosecutors also are going forward with the rape case involving Mujay. Ken Kolker, 24-hour News 8.
Thank you, Ken. Next up at 6, our team coverage of the February flood continues. We are live along swollen rivers as residents try to protect what they can as they flee for higher ground. Also, Drone 8 is flying high above the Grand River, giving us the best view of how high the water is. Our team coverage, First Best Live, starts in 90 seconds.